Hello and welcome to this edition of the Property Show on MBTV. My name is Siddharth Goel and I'm the head of research and editorial for Magicbricks. We have with us today Mr. Niranjan Hiranandani, who is here to talk to us about plotted developments and their market in the post-COVID era. So if I may start off with just asking you that if you could give us your view on what's happened to plotted developments or the markets, have there been any new trends that you have seen in the last 18 months? Where is the market headed towards?
Pandemic time has made a paradigm change in the thought process of people. People have been locked up in their homes, finding it difficult to move around. They have found that their families needed more space because they were congested at home. In the congested areas of the city centers, people found it extremely difficult. And many times, when you entered into a building, it was locked down. The building was locked down because 4 families had been full of COVID, and the corporation prevented anybody from either entering or exiting this building. This was a nuisance value which was kind of new to each and every person who lived into these complexes. The third part of it was the internet connectivity in the country has improved. So people who were staying in the urban areas, city areas, or even in the peripheral areas were able to connect and be able to do their work right from home. This was a new thing which occurred, which was not happening before. The affluent may have gone to certain of their large homes, but it was even the other classes of people who probably went to their hometown, home village, and other places of their residence where there was more open air. Only the need was connectivity, connectivity, and connectivity. The third part, which was extremely important, was the fact that people were comfortable with the fact that they were doing transactions on video conferencing or through the internet. And this is something which was totally foreign to most of us who worked before. So what has been the result of all this? The first result was that people needed larger spaces than they were used to before. The next part was that the interest rates have come down. So the borrowing capacity and the ability for a person to buy a bigger home was definitely there now than it was before. All this resulted in people moving away from the vertical towers and wanting to go out in a place which was open, maybe a little remoter from their homes and cities, maybe tier 2 cities, maybe in the periphery of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities, or even in remoter areas of places which were far away from the madding crowd, but had luxury positions or easier to live. The consequences of all this, Siddharth, has been the fact that people are willing to buy more and more and invest into plots. So they have an aspiration and ambition that they will not only buy the plot, but build that plot and then sometimes buy ready-made villas, ready-made plots, row houses, and then be able to do so. So a lot of secondary sales took place in this segment in terms of A plots, B villas, C row houses, and other things in the periphery of cities, and especially in holiday area homes around urban areas. So if you went to Lonavala, Khandala, Alibag, Goa, other areas around Mumbai, places which were there, large number of plotting schemes did come up, including one of ours, and a lot of good sales have taken place during this interregnum period. So plot sales have definitely come up.
Sir, in the 18 months that have gone by, have developers now launched new projects for plotted developments, or are secondary sales still taking place in older projects? Where is the market headed now?
Both are happening, Siddharth. The reason is very simple, that earlier, if you looked at the MMR market, for example, we had 5 years of stocks which were there. That has come down to almost 1.5 years of stocks. So obviously the stocks of finished goods and others under construction have come down tremendously, which means sales have taken place. So obviously the encouragement for developers to go in for new projects is definitely there. Buyers will then go for bigger flats. So we have double whammy. The earlier flat which they wanted to sell and then upgrade themselves is also selling. And also the buyers are then going in for larger flats from the newer developers or newer projects, which is also selling. So it's a double whammy.
Going into the future, what do you think is the potential for our existing cities to support a higher number of plotted development projects?
If you look at the Mumbai metropolitan region again, in the next 5 years, you are going to see 300 kilometers of metro. You're going to see the completion of the Cross Harbour Bridge, which will connect South Mumbai to Panvel and Karjat. It is going to bring a new airport at Navi Mumbai. All in all, we are getting infrastructure development of the highest order. Almost 3 lakh crores of rupees will be spent on all these projects put together in the next 5 years. This is unprecedented. So all these put together, if you see the future, hopefully the infrastructure will be much, much better than it was in the past. And the problems of the past will remain hopefully in the past.
Sir, has the demand only been for housing projects, or have we also seen demand for plots for warehousing and industrial?
We have set up a platform along with Blackstone for industrial and warehousing. And we have a huge demand pipeline for the purposes of industrial and warehousing projects. So we are doing extremely well, and this appears to be the future. On the other hand, what is lacking is the fact that people have not yet got back to the commercial offices. And that is a challenge as it stands today. However, all the IT companies have made it very clear that post Diwali and before Christmas, all the companies will be back functioning from the offices, and at least 75-80% of them will all be functioning from the offices. And after keeping safe distancing, the requirement of commercial offices will go up and not come down.
But then that brings us to the question that if commercial demand goes up and companies insist on their employees going back into their offices and working, how will that play out for plotted developments? Because all these buyers who are, like you mentioned earlier, are looking at moving into more open spaces, individual homes, and most of these are actually located at great distances from the city corridors where a lot of these IT companies are located. How would then they manage that particular issue?
Yeah, but it's not an either or situation. There will be some people who will still function from outlying places, but not everybody functioning from the office will have that luxury to do so. And at the same time, the companies may want some of the people to continue to work from home and not require that much office spaces. But my reading is that as GDP grows, the requirement of commercial spaces any which way will grow, and plotted development will also grow if GDP of the country is growing. So it's not an either or situation. It'll be both will be growing.
So far, most of the plotted developments that we've seen have either been too big, which is mostly in second home kind of projects, or they've been too small and they've been managed mainly by local developers, who are not even really well organized. So how do you think this scenario will play out in the future?
I think both will happen. I think there will be small players, but people who are nimble and small will also be able to play out into the marketplace. And there will be also larger developers who will consolidate and get into this marketplace. The local players will have an upper hand because of the ownership of land and so on and so forth. You will have smaller developers doing smaller lead and need operation in local areas, in projects. And you will get also larger developers who will spread through the country, spread through the areas, and also be able to do consolidation in view of their market credibility that they hold and the goodwill that they have in terms of operation. They will, of course, enjoy a market share which is bigger. But the question is, how much will each of these segments grow? Time will tell.
Do you think that the market is, especially for plotted developments, is in favor of end users, or is it in favor of investors, or is it a mix of both?
Mix of both. I have seen in the North India in the last 20 years, huge number of investors have bought small plots all over the country. Huge. I mean, tremendous number. They were only investors into the marketplace. So earlier, I would say there was much bigger investor market and a very small actual user market. I think the actual user market has in fact grown over a period of years. So you see much more actual users market also coming into the marketplace, but that does not mean that the investors have dried up. They're also there, but as a proportion to the total number of buyers, investors as a proportion has come down, and those who actually want the thing for their own use have gone up.
On that note, especially since, in the Indian end user also always looks at the safety of the investment, what are the things that they should keep in mind when they are trying to buy a plotted development, whether it's constructed or just, construct on their own? What are the things that they should ideally keep in mind?
Look at the title, look at the brand, look at the issues which are there, look at what is the track record of the developer, look at the RERA listing which is there, what is the commitment, who are the other people who have bought the properties there, how many times has this owner been able to deliver the projects, what's the quality of the finished product that is there. I think some due diligence requires to be done before you actually go for purchase of plots. And also, of course, the commitment in terms of branded companies would be far higher than if you go to somebody who's doing a first-time sale. So all this and more is required in order to be able to see, because land is not an easy subject to buy. And the more you go into it, the less you have done. So more and more you have to check out and do a due diligence. Then if you had to buy an apartment, it's much easier.
So Mr. Hiranandani, thank you for this wonderful session. I hope our viewers have gained some great insights from this. We will, of course, get back to you if we have any questions coming in, any one of them. But thank you for your time, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Please like and share this video and do subscribe to MBTV.